Business owners who are the most successful use technology and time differently than most. If you're struggling with all of the clutter of social media, SEO, blogging, and podcasting offers, consider a new and dynamic marketing platform. At eFlexonics, we create interactive digital magazines for your event, business, or trade show. Don't allow your competition to affect your business growth. eFlexonics can handcraft your own web radio and web TV experience, as well as professionally narrate your entire magazine and turn it into a downloadable web radio series. Join Rick Holland and Wendy Burge in this 4-part series discussing how to recognize and share your business with others.
Other than, here's my free offer just so I can have an exchange. Why not, like you said, why don't we expand that? Take that and blow it up a little bit bigger and make it interactive. Like,
Yep.
you know,
Invite other people to play in our sandbox.
yeah. Well, it's funny because I think what your concept is it's touching on a couple of things that people, there's only 3 ways really we communicate. We're either physically communicating with our voice, so we have, audio and video. You're writing, if you're writing, or you're face-to-face in that sense that you've got the digital and then you've got the physical. And you can actually kind of bring all of that together really nicely in a magazine where if you are doing just like we talked about earlier, if you're just doing a podcast, they're missing the
They're missing
physicality.
so much more.
They're missing.
They're missing the excitement of the event.
Well, I work with all those, with healers. They're probably missing your aura. Because I do hear imprints on everything, even on paintings, which is really an interesting thing. But there's a dynamic experience, I think, that if you can bring that in, and just imagine you've got some really great people in your own network, and you can put a magazine together. Let me showcase. Here's a great one. There's a lot of people who want to do testimonials for client testimonials. Why not put that in your digital magazine?
Absolutely.
You already are asking them to write testimonials. You're already taking their pictures. You're already doing video sometimes. Lots of video testimonials and or audio testimonials. Why wouldn't you put that in a magazine?
Yep. Put everything in. All your valuable content in one place. Digital water cooler. Send it out. Now you have a two-way communication with your clients.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I think it's a great idea.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to get the front page of that magazine to show the camera of Vendel. Right? What we did. And I've changed the font, and the font now shows the proper lettering.
Oh, yeah.
That old. I'm just going to put it in front of the camera here.
So this is a magazine that we've been working on.
Yeah.
We started. This is the cover.
Look at that.
So this was an art show that was just on 2 weekends ago.
I'll bring it down here.
Yeah, there you go.
Vendel.
And it had 8 or 9 artists over 3 days showing live outside. We had vendors, we had musicians, we had food vendors, and it was a really great experience.
Really
beautiful. Just one of the most beautiful locations you can have on the Pacific Northwest.
I went around and I interviewed every single artist, video interview, and it was stunning. And they can use that as a personal ad to display their works. They're painting. Somebody says, well, what do you do? What kind of painting do you do? Here's my interview with my painting right beside me.
Well, exactly. And this is what you and I are talking about. Artists have a hard knock as it is being told they have to be broke and poor till they're dead, and then that's when all their money comes in. When there's really, really great artists out there right now that really just, the only thing they're lacking is exposure.
Yes.
They're just lacking exposure. Sure, from a business coach side, I see some things that are teachable, that they just stopped and learned. Nobody's showed them a better model of how to handle business. But like you and I were saying earlier, could you imagine if you had set something up like that? You've got a digital publication, you have access to your social media sites, you've got someplace that's interactive with all your content. God, that would be like the coolest magazine if you could just say, here's my artist statement and here's all my stuff in it. The artist, that's their mentality anyway.
And they get to control the environment,
content,
the whole thing. Here's the thing. I know a lot of business people that they're paying 2 to 3 magazines a month.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of magazines they charge, I used to work for a magazine in advertising, and they would charge $1,200 for one single page ad.
I know.
In a printed magazine,
printed, which is like, on the bottom of the bird.
$1,200 a month.
Yeah, I know. It's on the bird cage.
What's going on with that? And they were gladly paying it, right?
Well, because, let's think, and this is exactly why everything's about timing. We are seeing newspapers and magazines already falling back as it is. Large newspapers that have been around for even 100 years have lost readership.
Yes.
We're losing an industry that's become a dinosaur. $1,200 probably was justifiable if you consider all the labor costs, all the stuff that had to go into putting these together. Nowadays, it's just a couple of clicks and you're done.
Yeah.
So as far as the businesses go, that's an expense you could cut your expense in half.
Oh, yeah.
If not even 3/4 of what you used to pay. And that's the beauty of the technologies we've had. But we have to catch up. We have to finally make that commitment as business owners and say, how am I going to present visibly? What am I going to keep doing? Because I still have people come to me that are still using Yellow Page ads online. And Yellow Pages is saying they're going to build their website and their web presence. And I'm thinking,
oh my gosh. Remember Can Pages?
Yes.
What a disaster that
Yes.
was.
What
And
are you
they
getting out of
really
it?
ripped off people like terribly.
I know. I had a brick and mortar business for years. I think we used to pay $300 a month for Yellow Page
Oh, that
ads
was
or
easy.
something.
For Can Pages, they were paying $1,000 a month.
But for what?
I heard.
Well, I mean, like,
Can't
my thing,
verify that.
unless you can guarantee they're picking up the Yellow Pages, there's no
Well,
way
they were doing a little bit of social media, but very
it's
little.
not.
They set up a little website with Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
But guess what? You had to go there
Yeah.
with this. And so my point was, if you're advertising in one of my magazines,
Yeah.
you can, for that price, you can have your own
Magazine.
with your own message.
Yeah.
And you don't have to depend on the other editors thinking, well, this is best for them. This is best for their ad. This is best for that. No,
But you
because
just brought up one of my gripes is having somebody else edit your message.
Yeah.
Holy cow, have I seen editing mess up. I've been in the newspaper for a couple of different variations over the years for different events I've done or just being showcased as a business owner. And I don't know. Because one of the articles that was about me as a therapist went out. They were talking about when I was a practicing art therapist. They did this. They wanted to know about art therapy, blah, blah, blah. And I had my young son with me in a playpen off to the side when I was being interviewed. The photographer from the newspaper came in and asked if they could photograph the space I was using, my studio space at the time. They got a glimpse of my son in his playpen. They never asked if they could put him in the paper. Number one, I didn't want that. But then when the article came out and I was sitting there, it made it almost look like I was the client.
Really?
And I was talking about family dynamics and really tough issues, and I thought, you would never know I wasn't the therapist.
Yeah.
The way the images had set up, the way they edited the article and the interview, I thought, I will never do another newspaper editorial like that again. It was I was like, oh, I was so disappointed. And I had people coming, I'm not kidding, I had people coming to my clinic at the time saying, is everything okay in your life? I read that article. Was that you? Is that you, the therapist, or are you in therapy? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
So that was a disaster that can be easily averted when you control
your own content
in-house.
Yeah, I've had that happen a number of times. I've heard some really bad things where people have re-edited articles or press releases.
Yep.
Oh, press releases. Somebody hacks out something that's really essential to the value of the event.
We could put press releases in the magazine, couldn't we?
Oh, for sure you could. Yeah, you could put a press release in. Anytime you have an event. You could have something.
Then we can link that up to the calendar. We can put a calendar on the website.
You put a calendar.
Saying, here's where we're going to be broadcasting this event.
Not only could you do that, you could, depending on how often you want to do this. So let's say you have an event that you know you're going to run maybe twice a year. You could even set up all your payment systems through your calendar too.
Sure.
You could just, Sure. I'm all about automation now. We need to free up space and time because this stuff is available. If you've got something that's properly marketing anyway, and if you got people excited and they can see the value in it, they're ready to buy and pay. And you've already now had the interactive ability to, they can hear you, they can see you, they can read, because I think it's a psychological thing. We want to know that when you talk and when you speak on video and when you read, everything has a consistency to it.
Yes.
But there's nothing worse than having it's, having somebody sound better in life, and then you get on video or they get on audio and you're just like, oh, I couldn't live with that voice. Or look at those twigs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, people get really wiggy about that. It's really funny. And I think you have an opportunity to really come across as professional. You can edit, you can sit down and say, this is what I want to present. And, one of the reasons we kicked the radio, the radio on here is because what I think is really interesting is it's going to be interesting to see who wants to step in and raise their hand and go, I'm ready.
Yes.
Versus the people who are going to say, I don't know. I think that's going to go alongside with the 8 tracks.
Yeah. It was funny because yesterday I was in a meeting with one of my clients, and big construction firm.
Yeah.
And the two owners were sitting there, and there was an employee there. Yeah. And I said, so you guys, we'll build you a magazine, and then we'll get the people in the magazine to send them to their email database. And he said, the employee guy said, you know what, I can't see anybody wanting to click on a button and watch a contractor or subcontractor talk about an interview, like an interview about a subcontractor. And I said, yes. I said, but wait, that subcontractor, it matters a great deal to him.
Of course it does.
And guess what? It's proven that people know an average of 250 people in their database, in their email database.
Yeah.
Well, take that to a business. Usually you'll have at least 1,000 people in an average size database in an average size company.
Yeah.
That's 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So if you interview that guy and give him a 2 or 3 minute commercial on video and put it in your magazine and say to him, share it with your email database, now it's going out to 1,000 people. Now you do that for 5 vendors, that magazine is now automatically going to 5,000 people.
Well, and that is part of the old direct marketing method, is that when people only used print marketing, so postcards and mail-outs, the rule of thumb was don't send it to residential homes. Unless you're specifically a consumer market, that's who your base is.
Like roofing or washing
exactly.
or painting.
That if anything, you sent direct marketing pieces to businesses in that particular postal code or zip code, primarily because there was no less than 5 people who would have to look at the mail.
Right.
So you're ripping it open, you're like, you put it on does anybody need okay, here's the, like in my clinic, we'd get flyers and advertisements and stuff for different medical supplies and things. Maybe I didn't need it, but somebody else in the office probably
Absolutely.
did. Office supplies, I didn't need it, but maybe they needed it.
Yes.
Or somebody would come to me and say, hey, there's somebody doing this, do you want this? It's not working for me, but how about you? Did you? And that's perfect.
Yeah.
So that for me is a better...
So that guy's eyes got about this, and he said, I never realized that.
How much we don't think about, it's not what we think we know, it's who do you know that's going to pass it on. And isn't that the old adage anyway? Most people have a network just immediately of 250 people they know.
Yeah.
At any given moment.
Yeah.
There's at least 250 people. I mean, go count how many people you have stored on your contacts in your phone.
Facebook, Google Plus.
Well, and now you're talking, here's my
Twitter.
biggest... Well, and here's the thing. And I'm not a social media expert, and somebody can challenge and tell me different, and that's okay. But I can tell you right now, the challenge is, if on social media, is getting those people off of Twitter, off of Facebook, sometimes off of LinkedIn, but it's a totally different game on LinkedIn. Getting them to your website, to subscribe to an email list.
It's like pulling teeth.
To get them so you at least have permission now to market them. Now, I don't know how this content will be used, but we are in Canada. Canada recently introduced a year ago new Canadian spam legislation acts, the CASL. This CASL agreement is limiting our access and our ability to approach and reproach people. If they have been on your list longer than 2 years and you have not been in contact with them, it is now dead wood. You may not contact them anymore. So you're trying to figure out, maybe you have an inactive or a very low active connection rate with somebody on an email list. You're now online in social media. How do you get all these people who are liking you and tweeting you to drive traffic to get on your email list so you could talk to them again?
Yeah.
That, to me, is always the biggest challenge. And then if not, you've got these people sitting behind the scenes, the puppet masters playing with all the stats, going, okay, now you got to throw more money over here, and you've got to offer this. Wouldn't it be awesome to say, here's for free. Here's my magazine.
Yep.
Here's my magazine. Now you're giving them more content to digest.
Rich, diverse,
Totally
powerful,
more content that's going to allow them to come in and say, Now I'm ready to raise my hand.
There
I don't
you
even
go.
need to spend the 7 to 9 hits
There you go.
to sell to you. You can go through that process now, and then if you do jump on my list, I'm going to love you anymore and give you even more greater value.
Yep. And you know the great thing about an online interactive digital magazine, you can use this platform for up to, wait for it, sit down, a year.